Welcome to The Career Refinery, the podcast for dreamers, doers, and anyone ready to rewrite their career story. I'm Amy, and we're bringing you real stories of bold career transitions, passion projects turned businesses, and the mindset shifts to make that all possible. So if you've ever wondered, what if I just went for it? You're in the right place. Today's guest has been there and done it. Cicely started as a data analyst, moved into sales, but she didn't stop there. Her passion for sustainability and beauty led her to launch Selkie, an innovative haircare brand without prior business experience. In this episode, we unpack how she made bold career moves, the skills she carried into entrepreneurship, and how she built a thriving business from scratch. If you're dreaming of a career change, this one's for you. Now let's get into it.
Hey sis.
Hi.
Thanks for carrying on the pod.
No problemo.
The first episode.
Yep, big day.
So what's your story?
So I was a chemistry graduate who then navigated into a data role. I then stumbled into sales and now I have a haircare brand.
So interested in just chatting about the last few years since graduating,
Yeah.
and what you've been up to. I'd love to hear where you've ended up and how you've got to where you are now.
Okay, so went to the University of Bristol to study chemistry, had no idea what I wanted to do. I just really enjoyed science and learning. I then reached the end of my fourth year and I was like, I really don't know what I need to be doing or where to go. Hadn't applied to any grad schemes. What do I do?
Yeah.
I saw a role that was at a big pharmaceutical consulting company and it was within their commercial effectiveness team.
Right.
And I was essentially analysing data to prove the commercial effectiveness of pharmaceutical drugs.
Interesting.
A lot of data
manipulation,
a lot of modelling, a lot of focused desk work, not really talking to anyone else.
And did you think that would have been a good suit for you, or were you not sure?
Perhaps.
Okay.
I thought, I don't really know what to expect. This is kind of my first science, but also corporate job.
Yeah.
So anyway, got into it and quickly realised this was not for me. I think I just needed a lot more kind of interaction.
Yeah.
It was a lot of just, head in numbers the whole time. So, yeah.
Yeah, so a bit more of a people's person.
Yeah, which I don't think I necessarily realised at the time.
Okay.
I thought I was more of a, let me just get on with my work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that made you realise that that's not suited to you. So
definitely.
Then you moved
into sales. So I
so quite the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and it was actually because the team that I worked in this company was next to the sales team.
Okay.
And I could see what they were doing in the day.
Yeah.
And I thought, that looks far more like what I would want to do.
Okay.
So anyway, I saw a job at a different company that was selling basically pharmaceutical events to scientists or researchers or pharma companies over in America.
Yep.
So the thought of doing this job honestly petrified me, but in like quite an exciting way. So it was like, I know this is going to be really scary, but I think I want that challenge and I think I probably could do it, but I'm scared.
Yeah, I think any sales job is quite scary.
100%. So anyway, just threw myself in and it was a big kind of like, okay, there's no time to be scared here.
Yeah.
You have to dial 80 times a day, cold calling people, and you just have to get on with it kind of thing. And that really brought me out of my shell, I think. And then I just really enjoyed it. It was kind of, as soon as you kind of rip that Band-Aid off of being absolutely petrified, then started to love it.
Okay, so you've been in sales since?
Yes, kind of. So I then left that sales job and went into a bit of tech sales.
Okay, interesting.
Quickly realised that I actually really still wanted to hold on to the science side as well.
Yeah.
So not just the sales. It was kind of...
the first sales job wasn't sciencey?
It was.
Oh, it was?
The tech one wasn't.
Okay.
So I missed that kind of sciencey-ness to it.
Right.
So... wasn't there for too long, and then I saw another job which was basically for kind of sales / account management, again selling to pharma companies.
Okay.
So was there for 4 years or so.
Okay, so you had a couple of jobs in quite quick succession.
Yes.
Which a lot of people, there's some stigma around jumping around, but I think Well, did that help you? Did you learn quicker about what you enjoy?
Definitely. I think a lot of people probably told me not to quit these jobs. My family's nickname for me is P45.
Yeah, okay.
I have moved around a lot, but I do think it has absolutely given me so many skills, and it has made me a lot more adaptable, I would say, because every time you enter a new environment, it tests you in ways that you didn't necessarily think, even not just from the job role, but meeting new people for the first time. That first week at an office where you don't know anyone is pretty like out of comfort zone, basically. So I think all these different things that I've done have just made me a lot more adaptable, and I think I've learned a lot of skills from doing lots of different things.
Okay. And the sales role, do you think that combined with science, you found your calling, and is that what fulfills you, or?
Yes and no. So I love the people side of sales. What I found was kind of a ceiling of enjoyment was sales is transactional by nature. So for example, in some of these roles, I'd spend quite a while like nurturing these prospects, and then the sale would happen, and then you never speak to them again, you move on, and then I would be on to the next thing. So it's not that relationship building or building something.
Right.
So I think that's perhaps what I was missing in sales, being able to have something to show in terms of building something.
Makes sense. And just before we move on to sort of what you're doing now and how you got there, if anyone listening wants to get into sales, what would your one piece of advice be for them?
So I think even if it petrifies you, just do it, because you will surprise yourself. And I remember having this vision in my head, whether it was from Wolf of Wall Street or that kind of narrative of what a typical salesperson is like, and thinking, I don't think I fit that. And being so surprised that when I did join these sales roles, some of the absolute best salespeople weren't these loud, kind of brash, quote unquote, salespeople. There are different ways of doing sales, and I think just go for it, because you'll surprise yourself. And even if you're not the absolute best salesperson, you will take so much from it personally that you can move forward into any aspect of your life.
So building confidence, talking to people,
having difficult conversations, just having a bit of a just attitude of I'll try. If it doesn't work, I'll try again.
Yeah. So obviously I know you quite well, and alongside your corporate job, you've dabbled in a few sort of ventures. One being one that we had together.
Yeah, good times.
But you are now obviously full steam ahead with Selkie, which is really exciting, and you've been working on that for a few years, developing, etc. I think just really interesting to understand, what was the turning point, what was the idea, where did that come from? Because I think a lot of people want to start something, but half of it is having an idea to actually pursue.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously we had our business together, and that was maybe 2020 through to 2021. Had loads of fun, learnt loads of lessons, but maybe wasn't what both of us wanted to do long term. So it was around that time where we were both thinking that same thing, where the idea for Selkie came to me. And I had actually had a lot of different ideas before that, but this one was like, when you just get that idea and whatever you do, you cannot get it out of your head. Like, it just felt like this is absolutely what I need to be doing. And I don't know why, but there was just no second guessing it at all.
And did it come from a problem you were facing?
Yeah, but I think it wasn't even just one problem. It was like everything kind of slotted into place with different things I had been experiencing. So I have always loved kind of hair and beauty, but really I knew nothing about hair care, which even as someone with a science background, yes, I could probably decipher some of the ingredients on the back of a shampoo bottle, but it's an incredibly confusing landscape for people who have no idea. So I was at a point where I wanted to stop using off-the-shelf products because they were really doing quite a lot of damage to my hair. I, at the time, met an amazing hairdresser who started telling me about all of her different hair care products that she uses and the reasons why. I found it super interesting. So I really got into kind of looking into what ingredients actually go into our products. Then secondly, questioning why do these good products all come in so much single-use plastic? So two problems that I was basically wanting to fight. And then having that chemistry background as well, the whole thing just kind of made sense to me, and I could see in my head how this could work by creating powder to liquid shampoo and conditioner.
Interesting. So do you think your chemistry knowledge helped you with the concept?
Yes, I do think so. Obviously, I'm not a cosmetic chemist, but having that basic layer of knowing how formulas work. For example, one of the modules that I did in third year was on surfactants, and they are basically what binds water with oil molecules. They are the basis of most shampoos and, well, all shampoos. And by just having that kind of fundamental knowledge, I could see how the powder to liquid concept could work.
Right.
But then it was obviously thinking about what I wanted on a functional level in terms of active ingredients for the hair. And that's what led me to partner with the cosmetic formulators that I work with now.
Okay, so how on earth does one go about starting a business, let alone a business where you need to manufacture a powder to liquid shampoo? What was the very, very, very first step you had when you had the idea?
Yes. So I remember having this idea and I just shoved my head into a laptop for I don't know how many weeks, but not even weeks to be honest, but I just was obsessed with this idea. I was seeing if anyone else out there was doing it, trying to work out why people weren't doing it. I then saw that a lot of different industries were doing powder to liquid products, but no one was doing it in hair care. So that almost kind of proved the concept to some level, but it was figuring out why can't it be done in hair care. So then I started looking into the science and I couldn't see why it wouldn't be possible. What was the question?
What was the very first step?
Oh yeah. So once I kind of had a really good knowledge on how it could work, I then was like, right, I need to prove this, but I'm living in a flat in London. I can't cook this up myself. Let's get in touch with some manufacturers. And honestly, I look back now and I think, I don't know how I did that kind of thing, but just again, it comes back to that sales thing. I was calling manufacturers based in England, in Europe, like, hi, I've got this idea. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Can you make it for me? Loads of people thought I was mad. And lots of people still probably think I'm a bit mad, but just, I thought, why not? Why not call these people? If they say no, I'll try someone else kind of thing. And that whole process did take quite a long time. To find the right people, and that whole process of finding the right person probably took over a year. So
how did you find them? Was it a case of Googling beauty, shampoo, hair care manufacturers?
Literally Googling cosmetic manufacturers. But I did know that I knew that the formula was going to be a powder and I wanted it to be natural as well. So powder manufacturers, natural beauty manufacturers, but a lot of like looking at Google reviews of these manufacturers, like I had no idea, but just a lot of intense research. The way that I ended up finding the manufacturer in the end was contacting a consultancy, a beauty consultancy, who actually put me in touch with the right manufacturers in the end. So yeah, a lot of trial and error, to be honest.
Okay, so if we think about your journey from that first idea to now, so how long has it been?
I think it's about March 2021.
Okay.
So we are 2025.
And you launched officially at the beginning, with a fully developed product at the beginning of 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been going for just over a year.
Yeah.
But you were developing the product, the concept for
about 2.5 years.
About 2.5 years. Okay. So it's a long process.
An incredibly long process. If someone had told me back then, how old were we in 2021?
We would have been 24.
24, a young spring chicken.
Yeah.
If someone would have said to me, great idea, but it's going to take you 3 years to get it on the market, I would have said, I haven't got 3 years.
Yeah.
I'll go and think of something else that's quicker.
Right.
Because I just wanted to do things like now. In hindsight, taking this time has been incredibly beneficial because I've kept going in my corporate career, which has taught me a lot that I've been able to use in my business as well.
What are the core things you think your current corporate role helps with Selkie? So obviously the sales aspect you've spoken about.
Yeah, so the job that I have done most recently is more of kind of a commercial role from a wider angle. It's not just that transactional sales. So there's a lot of nurturing clients, but there's also looking at the landscape and looking strategically at who to target and things like that. It just has allowed me to have a bit more of a holistic lens on how to approach business strategy.
Yeah, makes sense. So what's been the biggest challenge for you? Has it been juggling both a corporate and a startup or something else?
That has definitely been hard. But I genuinely would say the hardest thing, and it's funny because I think before I launched, I kind of had this can-do attitude, you know, going out and finding these manufacturers and being so confident and sure of the idea and the business, to at points last year just really losing that. So I think maybe struggling with self-confidence was probably my biggest challenge last year.
And how have you overcome that?
Well, I think part of that was due to perhaps a bit of burnout, which perhaps came from juggling two things at once. Yeah, I think just having a bit of time to reflect. I also think that I have a tendency to run off of my emotions sometimes rather than analysing the data. So I think by making sure that you, as a founder and someone who has spent years developing a product from scratch, it can be quite hard, or you feel a certain attachment to this thing that you've created. So I think when things aren't going well, it can kind of hit even a bit harder. But when you look at things from a wider lens, look at the data and say, you know, take the emotion out of this. Is this going okay? Sometimes it is when you feel like it's completely doom and gloom. So yeah, just taking a step back sometimes.
So obviously you're still in your corporate job, have a company on the side. You have mentioned the sales and mentioned a few things in your current job that have helped, but a lot of people have, you know, a business degree, they have MBAs. Where do you think, or how have you learnt how to start and grow a business with limited business experience?
Well, obviously we had our side hustle as well, which gave a lot of business experience, especially in the online e-com kind of space. But even that, all of it is kind of learning as you go, isn't it? And I do think that there is, I mean, we have the whole of the internet at our disposal, and I have to Google things all the time. I haven't got a clue, but especially now when we have ChatGPT, obviously not everything is to be taken for exact science, but just ask it, how do you do this? How do you set up a company on Companies House? Like, the information is out there, and I think it's just about trying to navigate that landscape as best as possible. But I also think I'm very lucky to have people around me who have had businesses, who I can bounce ideas off, which I don't take for granted at all. Both of my parents have had businesses, albeit in very different kind of arenas. So they've always had service-based businesses, and it is an incredibly different ballgame having a product-based business to service-based business. But just in terms of the fundamentals, it's always valuable to speak to people in your network who have experience in that space.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something I've found is just, you know, use your network. But if you don't, there might be some people that are surrounded by people in corporate jobs, and that's absolutely fine. But with LinkedIn, things like that, you can make connections, you can reach out. I've been going to different events. Obviously we went together went to one together before Christmas, and I think just getting yourself out there, meeting people,
100%,
putting yourself in that sort of environment, and then you never know who you're going to meet and who can help you.
I think you're the same as well. Constantly listening to business podcasts, like just goes in by osmosis kind of thing. Like if I'm walking to the station or whatever, I'll just have something on, because I feel like that sometimes you can just have these random brainwaves just when you're not even trying to think of something. Or reading business books as well. The amount of like, it's not things for dummies, but building a business for dummies. So helpful.
I agree, and I actually think, well, I do struggle to read books. Everyone knows that. Everyone that knows me knows that. So either if you struggle to read books, I would suggest audiobooks, or I actually find the business related podcasts. A lot of the guests have read those books and they sort of relay some of the top tips, takeaways anyway. So you're sort of semi-reading the books by just listening to a podcast. So I agree with you.
Even just watching Dragon's Den, as like simple as that seems, you understand what people are asking, why they're asking it, and can kind of get thinking in that way. So even if it seems like you're not doing your homework because you're having fun, you're still learning.
No, I agree. And then in terms of one of the biggest things that a lot of people feel when they start a business, especially if they haven't had a business before or experience, is imposter syndrome. So is that something you have experienced?
Yes, but I think weirdly I experienced it at a time where maybe most people don't, or the wrong way around. So I think from developing Selkie, I look back now and I think that's when maybe most people would have felt imposter syndrome. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was going out, flying to Europe, meeting these manufacturers, asking them to create this product. I had to apply for business loans. I've applied for grants and just kind of went for it. But I think imposter syndrome really hit me last year when I was in the thick of kind of launching the brand. And I found it really hard. And I think it can kind of come at you at any stage throughout business or throughout life. Things aren't always, it's not got me now, so I'll be fine. But I think I'm now learning how to deal with that. And I'm almost trying to get my previous self back, because you can take knocks quite a lot. And business is hard. But I think I'm finding ways to kind of come out the other side. But I think how I've kind of dealt with it is surrounding yourself with positive people who can kind of lift you up. And I think, again, I'm incredibly lucky to have an amazing network around me who keep me positive. And again, kind of coming back to, I don't know, for me, it helps sometimes to try and almost take my emotions out of it. Again, like go into the data and kind of question myself. And if I'm thinking everything's terrible, if I actually take a look at it closely in terms of numerical things, then I can calm myself down sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I was at an event the other day and it was all around surrounding yourself with people that are expanders. And especially when you're in a position where you are tired, perhaps a bit burnt out, the last thing you need is to be around people that are, negative and that sort of thing. So positivity and your network and your support group is so important.
Your network is your net worth.
It is. So what would be your one piece of advice to anyone sitting there listening if they want to start a business?
I think absolutely you've got to do it. If you feel deep in your gut, this is what I want to do, sky's the limit, go for it. However, I do think you've got to go into it knowing that nothing's a given. Everything in life is a risk. So you've got to be willing to put in those hours, a lot of hours. And that could be evenings, weekends. You might have to still be working a job on the side to keep things up and running. But go for it. I mean, if you're going to look back in 5 years and regret not doing it, then do it. And I think absolutely whatever happens, I would have regretted not doing Selkie.
Okay, so it sounds like just do it, but go in with some sort of backup plan, perhaps?
Yeah, some form of backup plan or a way to maintain a bit of stability.
Okay.
There's obviously different ways to starting a business, and if you've gone out and fundraised and you're able to have a salary put into that, then that's amazing. Then you have that security in that way. But if that's not the path you want to take and you're using all of your own financial capital, you've got to keep yourself living. So you've got to have money coming in from somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been in business for a couple of years now. What would be the one thing that you wish you knew before starting Selkie?
So I guess knowing that no two businesses are the same. Obviously you can hear that, but I think until you actually believe that, it can be quite hard hitting. So obviously our business we were selling slippers, very product-based business. People understand what it says on the tin. So the way you market that type of product is completely different to what I'm trying to do now, which is essentially change an entire hair care industry or people's perception of a product that's been around for centuries. Yeah. So I think in hindsight, I should have planned a bit more for that, and not kind of thought that things would take off quicker than they have done, but also to not view that as a negative thing. I think there's a lot to be said about getting a core community of customers, especially with a product that we sell as a subscription basis, keeping those people that love our product really happy and creating that community, because virality can come and go, and you've got to be able to have that connection with people that truly believe in your product. And that's what I'm pleased to have kind of found. It hasn't been the kind of an influencer posts and things go crazy and then drops off. It's kind of that steady increase of people that genuinely love the fundamentals of the product.
And that's great. And I think the power of social media, the internet, is great in one hand because you do have the opportunity to connect and sell to people that, you know, all around the country. But there's also that level of comparison and seeing other companies perhaps go viral with one TikTok video, which is difficult because you're thinking, well, why am I not going viral? But having that sort of, you know, we're moving slower, but it's lifetime value of the customer and engaging with them is 100%. So important.
I think it was actually an Amy Smale TikTok, and she was saying that there's no kind of, you can go viral once, but you have to, and she's obviously gone viral several times, lots of people go viral, but having that core consistent consumer base is what's going to give you longevity as a brand. So I think that's one thing to focus on. I think as well, also a big learning is timing in business is everything. And I think that plays such a huge factor into everything, your marketing strategy. I think, again, comparing to our previous business, we launched in lockdown. Every single person was on their phone, scrolling, buying stuff off the internet, whereas people now are out and about living their busy lives. That's why out of home marketing has come back so much. You know, TV advertising, people are having to do loads of different types of channels rather than just rely on social media, pop-up events. Again, that was kind of a key thing from last year, is getting out there and actually speaking to customers, which has been invaluable. So yeah, I think kind of realizing that you've got to sense the times a bit and not just go on a previous model that's worked for you.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So if someone listening wanted to start a product business, it's obviously difficult in ways because it's direct to consumer, potentially more expensive to find customers, etc., etc. What would your one piece of advice be to them?
So I think there's probably a bit of info to give before answering that question. So when it comes to product-based businesses, I'm going to talk specifically more about, let's do beauty just for the sake of it. So there's two types of manufacturing. There's white label manufacturing, and then there's bespoke manufacturing, essentially. And white labeling is where manufacturers will have kind of a wheelhouse of products where companies can come and tweak them slightly. So it might be a cream bronzer or something. So company X or someone starting a business might say, okay, I want to create a cream bronzer. I want it to be a bit more pigmented. I want all of these different shades, but that manufacturer will have something that you can kind of work from. There's a lot of less risk in doing that because it's an established product and you're just essentially putting your branding on it. You're making tweaks. Of course, it can still be your own, but it's not completely from scratch. What we had to do, or I had to do, is basically start from ground zero. There wasn't any blueprint or anything. So it was a powder formula for a shampoo. Then it was, what do you put that in? Cardboard tubes. Okay, sourcing it from all these different places. In hindsight, huge risk. Any part of that could have gone wrong at any time, and it did. And that's what made the development process so long. So if you are starting out and you can do it in a way that is less risky and there's kind of products that are similar to yours on the market, start with that, test the concept. Goes back to like MVP,
minimum viable product.
Yeah, do it in a way that has less risk.
Okay.
Because
is it cheaper to do it that way as well?
Yes, because even just from a MOQ, which is minimum order quantity standpoint, if typically if it's a product that already exists, then there are less, you have to buy less units because it's not just solely for you.
And then they're already being created.
Yes.
So it's just like adding finishing touches and things. Interesting. I never knew that. Okay. And in terms of sort of once the product's done, going to market with the product.
Yes.
You've been doing events in person, etc. But what would your key piece of advice for going to market with the final product be?
I think what helped me, and perhaps I might not have done this had I not have been required to do it for this business loan that I got, was kind of testing the water before launching. So that's what I kind of treated as my proof of concept, which was getting people to sign up saying, would you be interested in powder to liquid hair care? It's better for the environment. It uses natural ingredients, XYZ. I didn't have the product ready at that time, but I just wanted to gauge an appetite for that product. By running ads on that, you kind of get an idea of who your demographic is. It's never going to be to a T, but you can start learning. My biggest regret is not keeping those people that signed up years ago more engaged in the development journey the whole time.
Right.
Having said that, very hard to do, juggling all these different things. But I think looking back, if you can start building that brand and involving your consumer in the development process from the very start, you're going to establish that connection a lot quicker. So that when it comes to launch, they're so excited. They're like, great, I've seen this journey from idea all the way through to it being made. So yeah, I think power in community these days is a really big thing.
Definitely. And I think that is easy-ish to do on social media. We have the tools now to be able to start building up that awareness. But I think your point on, you know, putting out a low-cost ad to Facebook or whatever it is with a, would you be interested in, if so, sign up to this waiting list. That's a really good, cheap, cost-effective way of proving the concept 100%. Before you perhaps even have conversations with the manufacturer.
Yes, yeah.
But there's a balance about like getting your idea out there without giving it away almost. There's a balance and it's difficult to get that right, but I think that's a really good way of starting.
Another point on kind of go-to-market strategy. So I had, again, perhaps through to comparing to my previous business, really thought that I would be just an e-commerce brand. I quickly realized that in this very crowded e-commerce landscape, it's very hard to cut through the noise, especially on a minimal marketing budget. So as we touched on before, I saw a lot of value last year in doing external events. What this allowed me to do was finesse kind of my pitch almost. So you're speaking to customers directly. You can see their face change or light up when you say certain things. So then you know, okay, that's what people want to hear. You don't get that from looking at data on an ad. Yeah, you can look at click rates and stuff, but you can actually see face to face the second someone's mind goes from not sure to I want to buy this product. Absolutely invaluable. Also kind of just building up a community of people that absolutely love your brand. So the amount of people I'm still in touch with who I've kind of met through being at these events, you can explain a lot more. It's not just one 60-second ad on Facebook, which kind of scratches the surface. You have proper conversations with people. And I never would have thought I was doing external events last year, but they were so good for the business to get brand awareness as well. Doing less of them this year because I want to focus on growing and scaling. Obviously, one person kind of, well, with a team of people as well, but at a single event, there's only so many people you can speak to in a day. So kind of moving on in terms of growth strategy, but brand awareness, getting the name out there, physical representation in the real world, I think is key these days.
And I think having the founder at the event, pitching the product is so powerful because that's half of it, isn't it? It's your story, it's how you came up with the idea, how you developed it. So I think that's a really good way of going to market and getting the brand out there, even though it must have been so tiring. And
definitely, we did a festival last year, and the amount of people that came up, it was quite, it was a gazebo, and we had everything quite branded. We were in branded Selkie tops and stuff, and quite a few people come up and be like, do you know why they chose to do a powder, or do you know why blah blah blah, and then being able to say, oh yeah, I'm actually the founder, this is why we did it. And again, you see people be like, wow, okay, you can actually talk to someone about where this idea came from. And some people ask me, for example, why aren't your products in glass, why is your reusable bottle in plastic? And I was able to explain that it is a health and safety hazard. If I'm telling people to shake a glass in a glass bottle in a kitchen or a shower to mix the product, it could smash and cut them. So basically explaining that to consumers face to face. And I remember this woman being like, that is just so nice that we can have this conversation about it, and you don't get that, think that in her head after seeing an ad, never bother to ask, and then just forgetting about the brand kind of thing. So it allows you to kind of get deep down into the conversations a bit more.
Good top tip, thank you.
I think one very important thing to remember is that what works for one brand isn't necessarily going to work for your brand. You have to try everything and then go off of what the data's saying, really. I spent a lot of money exploring TikTok for my brand, thinking that that was what most users are using at the moment, and just hasn't been the case for me. I see a lot better results on our website, which helps with our subscription model anyway. But these are all things you have to figure out.
TikTok Shop?
TikTok Shop, even just advertising on TikTok in general, which there are reasons to, and that now makes sense in hindsight, having been able to kind of evaluate it. And I see a lot more success in kind of Meta, Google, that side of things. So now I put my money there. But if I'd gone on my hypothesis before launching, I would have thought probably TikTok.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. You shouldn't compare yourself to others in life generally. You shouldn't compare your business to others. Stay in your lane, stay focused. And
what's that quote? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Exactly.
It's a hard-hitting one.
It is. Well, thanks, sis. It's been so
interesting,
and I hope it maybe inspires a few people to start that business, or if a job isn't quite working out, don't be afraid to
try something,
transition and move, because there's no point staying in something that makes you unhappy or
100%.
doesn't feel right. So I think your story is a great example of where you've done that, and it's paid dividends. And but each experience has helped you become what you are now, and you're a founder of a successful business, and looking forward to seeing you grow.
Oh, thanks, Ames. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see who you have next on the pod.
Let's see if anyone knows anyone that has done a career transition.
I can think of a few. But yeah, I'm sure I'm going to learn so much from listening to everyone else on your podcast. You've also got a very exciting story, so you should do interview yourself. If you want, we can swap seats next time, and I'll interview you.
Good idea.
We'll have fun again.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. My mission with this podcast is simple: inspire you to take that leap, make that career move, or start that business you've been dreaming about. If this has inspired you in any way, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, subscribe, or simply share it with someone that you think might benefit from hearing it too. This podcast is powered by Maze, a technology platform designed to help people start in their careers. If this is you, go and follow Maze on socials. You never know, it may be the tool you didn't know you needed. See you next time.